was pleasantly surprised with this game. I had burned myself a little bit, as mentioned before, with these 2D games that were supposed to bring back old franchises, games like Ninja Gaiden Ragebound and Shinobi. Ragebound, because it was bad, the balance wasn't good, and the design seemed to belong to another game. It was rough around the edges. Shinobi, on the other hand, was made by Lizard Cube, so it was refined and polished, but it wasn't Shinobi. At least, despite the fact that it felt like another game, the design elements did not contradict one another like Ninja Gaiden, the former feeling like a 2D platformer that was supposed to be fast-paced, but clearly having holdovers from Blasphemous. I came in with dread in my heart, thinking if this would be more like the former two, or more like Marvel Cosmic Invasion. It was indeed more like the latter, but before diving into the gameplay, art, or music, I would like to be straightforward and talk about the major flaw that hinders the experience. The checkpoint system is one of those things I would describe as artificially hard. It makes sense in the context of an arcade machine that takes your coins, but not a home console or PC. When you run out of continues, you have to restart the entire game, but there are no lives. Once your bar is empty, you use a continue and go straight back to the start. Even Cosmic Invasion has the sense to make you restart the level from the start, not the entire game. The arcade mode of that game also had a classic live system. The game is easy enough and pretty short, but it feels like padding because of that. The system is antiquated, and when doing an homage, you don't need to bring every part of a system. It would have been better to have lives followed by a continue and a game over screen. I was at the epilogue too. Only one level left. The premise of the level practice also becomes less appealing now. I thought it was just for nailing S ranks, not making sure I don't waste time on the very last level. Because yes, most of what is wrong with this game hails from the last level. I've had worse, but it's pretty frustrating. The John Connor levels in general are a bit weaker than the Sarah ones. He rolls instead of having a slide. That roll isn't an attack like the slide. He doesn't have a melee, only grenades, which makes sense when fighting Terminators. Those machines should never get anywhere close to the protagonist, but you can't create space or defend yourself up close. The worst part though is that his upgrades are temporary. The laser guns have temporary ammo, but not the traditional guns with bullets, so the levels do not get easier unlike with Sarah. This compounds when you add a terrible level design and enemy placement. You get shot from off screen, get stuck in pincer attacks by Terminator dogs, or roll into another robot. The enemies are also really beefy, so they will have time to retaliate, and like aforementioned, you will roll into an attack or another spawning enemy. The end lag of your recovery assures that if the first didn't get you, the next will. The controls, in general, are just not responsive. And oh, that final boss. I had a diminishing number of continues, so I looked online to see if there wasn't some kind of cheat. Lo and behold, there was. Going into the main menu, not the pause menu when you're in game, you switch on and off the CRT filter really quickly. After getting a confirmation, you go back to the cheat menu and enable infinite continues. My surprise when I saw that the final boss not only was a damage sponge, but also had a second phase. I fucking swear, if I had done this legit, I would have gone insane. I would have just quit out of frustration. I'm an adult, I don't have time for this anymore. Arcade games were hard, but the more you played, the more you understood, and they were not as hard as you think they were. You would go further every time and understand the nuances that made them special. Yes, beat 'em ups are actually deep. It's not because they have limited inputs that they don't have complexity. It's like boxing. Yes, it's only punches, but people quit when they realize that they have to focus on timing, distance management, level changes, and they have to layer their offense and defense. The problem is that people have this open game world mindset, in the sense that they want the game to be really big and to have a lot of tasks, but most of these tasks are actually extremely redundant, and if you think about it, there's only 2 or 3 unique things that you do. It's actually much more preferable to have the Looking Glass Studio kind of mindset when it comes to your game. Maybe it's not as big, it's just a small pool, but the small pool is 3 kilometers deep. This game gives me fucking whiplash because it's easy 99% of it, and what should be a final level victory lap becomes an extremely tedious exercise. My ranks throughout the game reflect that perfectly. I S-rank almost every level except the John levels, and I got an E on the final one because it sucks. The final level and how it affects the structure of the game really ruins the experience. I was about to recommend the game, but now I have to recommend that you use the cheat menu and buy it at a discount. It's not a bad game, better than Ragebound, but not as good as the rest. It's B tier. The lack of responsiveness mixed with enemy speed and the fact that you can't run and shoot really brings down the experience. It doesn't have the details, so when you crank up the difficulty, it doesn't work. My rage has spread like wildfire. When I finally started playing on hard and doing the extra content, even the Sarah levels become unbalanced. You just get thrown into fighting game option selects, meaning that the game throws at you options that always result in your loss. Jump and I'll do a Shoryuken. Well, in this case, shoot and the dog attacks you from the back. Roll to the first dog, the one on the right attacks you. Roll to the right, the one on the left attacks you. Open the door, get shot during the animation and you can't cancel your moves, so you get hit. Move forward and get hit by an off-screen projectile. That's also why I start games on normal. Modern games are too unbalanced in their difficulties to warrant the suffering. It's sad because there's real love in here for the franchise. The reproduction of scenes, the alternate story levels, and the excellent pixel art. That intro with the T-1000 would have blew my mind back in the day. They managed to have the songs from the original, that hard Brad Fidel synth, but also really nice remixes of them. This is the kind of thing that I would have loved back in the day. The question is, do you really want to replay those 38 minutes of the same game over and over again for one level, or having to replay the game again just for 2 branching paths? Why don't we have a level select instead of a level practice? Finishing all this gives you another mode, Mother of the Future, but after having to needlessly finish the game twice, I'm not so sure everyone will push through that. I'm now persuaded that most people don't really play games. People used to have standards, but it's been beat out of them. Most channels out there just suffer from toxic positivity along with the inability to analyze anything. We know that big media sucks, like IGN, but now even those smaller channels are just dog shit. Because nowadays, if you dare analyze, it gives you the label of conspiracist or chud or you're being negative. Most people don't mention a single thing I said about difficulty. They just go, ooh, pixel art, and they stop at that. No, it's not a matter of budget. You've already made the assets. Enemy placement is playtesting, and even if you can't afford a slew of testers, you can play the game yourself. You have to. I'm kind of fucking tired of holding back, so now I'm just gonna actually call out people and shit on a couple of channels. How is the gameplay smooth, Game Ranks? It's a run and gun where you can't run and shoot, and you have an eternity of end lag on everything. Did you actually play the game? It's not an issue if you just play the game once on normal, but it really becomes an issue when you play on hard. You have Happy Console Gamer over here sounding like a gay South Park character. You just describe moments, you don't talk about mechanics. And yeah, I get it, G-Man Lives, the game makes references to games also, but it's lukewarm, diluted version of those games. Even Access Media doesn't have anything to say about games anymore. They're all trying to get in on a dying industry for early access code. Everyone is rushing, but no one is saying anything of value. The game is great for what it is, the sights and sound are all here, but it's far from perfect in terms of actual gameplay. And in reverse to an arcade game, the more you play, the more flaws show up. It seems they spent more time on reproducing the iconography than actually making a game. The normal experience is fine, but it's a steep price tag at $30, with a good first time through, but increasingly frustrating when you invest time into higher difficulties. Like I said, I managed to push through because I've been using cheat codes. It's a recommend for me, but there's a huge asterisk.